In my first journal entry, I talked about finding self-worth from your and identity from your uniqueness, that you are a one of a kind of billions of people on the earth, and how awesome you are, and to never forget that. Now, I learned that as a teenager, and I learned that as a teenager. Now, part of that discussion was the discussion about how to find love, and that was to give love to other people unconditionally. So I started practicing that as a teenager, and I got to tell you, um, it's very true. I was extremely successful. I had a lot of people who liked to be around me. I had a lot of people who looked up to me, um, both in high school and then in college and in my professional life. Um, and I was successful um, along the way. But it didn't feel exactly right in my heart. And part of that was, people, like I said before, I was a little lonely because people really didn't know me. A few people ask you, why are you like what you are? So, even though I knew what I was doing and I knew why I was doing it, other people didn't understand that part of me. Also, you get taken advantage of. Uh, there are people who will gladly um, take your love and continue to take it as long as they need it. So I had to start. I had to start to think about love, and I had to start to develop it over time. The natural place to go um, was to go to the Bible. After all, probably no man on the earth is better known for love than Jesus. And so, where else to find what Jesus would say about love than in eyewitness accounts of his teachings? For the next couple of videos, I'm going to expand on different parts of love. Today's video, I want to talk about the balance of love. When Jesus was asked, what is the greatest commandment? What must I do? He gave this answer, and I'm going to read from Matthew 22:37 through 40. Jesus replied, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments." The first commandment about love your God we'll talk about in other videos. What I want to focus in on is that second commandment. Love your neighbor as yourself. Note, he's not saying love your neighbor. Doesn't say love your neighbor greater than yourself. He says love your neighbor as yourself. So this is kind of twofold, and we'll comes back to identity in a second. Number one, it says to love yourself. Okay, a lot of people struggle with that. There's a lot of reasons. You've been abused um, throughout your life, maybe early on. You've had people who have always been critical of you. Maybe you're just so shameful of things that you've done that you feel like you can't be forgiven. You just don't love yourself. You don't even like yourself. This is not uncommon, okay? And so Jesus is saying you need to take care of yourself. Now, he also says, love your neighbor as yourself. So as you're taking care of the people around you, you're also taking care of yourself. I have a friend of mine, Greg Leisman, who talks about how he visions heaven. And one of the ways he's been told of heaven is there's going to be a great feast in heaven. And everyone at the feast is going to have 6-foot long chopsticks. I don't know if that's heaven because I have enough trouble with 1-foot long chopsticks. But the idea with 6-foot long chopsticks is you can't feed yourself. You have to feed someone else, and they have to feed you. So you have to love your neighbor as yourself. And there's a second part to this, okay? The easiest person for me to fool is myself, okay? I can start loving myself way more than my neighbor. Um, it takes some brutal honesty and self-reflection to sometimes say, hey, if I had been that person, I would have rather had, a different response for myself. So loving your neighbor as yourself is not easy. It's something that has to be practiced day in, day out. But it is really key. So as we talk about loving and giving with no expectation of return, there's still an expectation of giving to yourself too. And this is kind of important because if you think about the identity, I am the greatest miracle in the world. But quite honestly, you are the greatest miracle of the world. And so is the next person the greatest miracle in the world. Quite honestly, we're like, oh, I guess I'm not so rare because everybody else is just as rare as me. Okay? And you can really get back down on yourself. This is the antidote. You start to love all these other miracles around you, not expecting anything back, but you also love yourself as the greatest miracle. We all have infinite value, but we live in a very limited world. And we all have thoughts running through our head, but you don't know what the next greatest miracle's thoughts are running through his head. So this is not easy. Love is not for wimps. If you're going to love well, you have to be strong, courageous, and you have to hold on to who you are, knowing that you don't want to necessarily do the selfish thing, the thing that you're thinking about, but you want to continue to be looking out for the way that you can give to someone else's being. Hopefully this helps. Have a good night.